My name is Becca Lee. When I visited the Boston Children's Museum, I focused on the Kid Power exhibit. This exhibit is located on both the first and second floor of the museum. I focus on the power station, which lets children balance out exercise with food, which are represented by weights. It visually shows children and adults how to perfectly balance out exercise and what food you should eat. This exhibit is important to today's culture because the US has one of the highest obesity rates and exercise is a part of people's everyday lives. The four main learning objectives for the Kid Power exhibit are communication skills, social and emotional skills, visual thinking skills, and physical skills.
My name is Shannon Downey. For our trip to the Boston Children's Museum, I observed and learned about the Arthur and Friends exhibit found on the second floor of the museum. This fun and interactive exhibit puts you into the world of Arthur, created by Mark Brown. According to the museum's website, Arthur and Friends promotes important early skills, attitudes, and behaviors in children, such as reading, understanding feelings, creative problem solving, being a good friend, and connecting to family. They are all incredibly important skills for children to learn, and having the ability to learn them in a hands-on setting makes it even more influential. Some of the sections of the exhibit include a flight simulation, a kitchen, a classroom, and a backyard sleepover. Each section teaches children different skills, including cooking, studying, and camping. The specific section of this exhibit that caught my attention was the chroma key. Chroma key is a visual editing style that allows for two images to be combined to make a full screen. This is typically done with filming someone standing against a solid green background and then editing the background from another visual. This is the same type of video editing commonly used for the Weather Channel, as well as special effects featured in general filming. In this specific instance, it was editing children into a music video with Arthur and his friends. The chroma key section stood out to me because there was one at the planetarium that I used to visit often as a child. This is an interesting and exciting thing for children to experience, and even more fun when it edits you into the world of Arthur. There are different panels around the room that explains in detail how the editing works.
My name is Alexa Koviluk, and I chose to talk about a piece of artwork from the gallery at the Boston Children's Museum. Comic books are the exhibit on display in the gallery until May 4th, and you can get to the gallery by walking up the stairs to the second floor, turning right, and going through the Kiva exhibit. The two pictures I have here are of comics by Gerald Dye. The 6 illustrations are from Dye's book, Pigs Might Fly, published in 2017. The black and white comics shown are made out of Bristol paper and pencil. The colored comics are made out of the same, but also colored in with Copic multi-liner pens and acrylic ink. Dye's book contains 201 pages of illustrations. The story of Pigs Might Fly follows the adventures of airplane flying pigs and warthogs with relations between science and magic. I decided to research these comics because growing up I really enjoyed reading the comics, especially ones like this where a lot of imagination comes into play. When I see these comics, it reminds me a lot of Disney World, as there is a whole lot of magic and science there, especially for little kids. I think it relates to culture today because everyone searches for either science or magic, as they almost need something bigger than themselves to believe in. People have believed in magic and science for ages, and these comics are a great representation for children to understand.
My name is Nadia Magliozzi, and the exhibit I found most interesting at the Children's Museum was the Japanese House exhibit located on the third floor next to the Japanese House Gallery. Since this was a real house lived in by silk merchants, there is no date or artist documented. This house was donated to the Boston Children's Museum by the city of Kyoto and was taken apart to ship and then completely reassembled in the museum. It was easily taken apart because it is built by a method called kagumi, which is a woodworking technique that involves fitting together pieces of wood without the use of nails or adhesives. This traditional Japanese technique was very common in many houses built in Japan, so the houses would be able to move with earthquakes without being destroyed. These types of houses are called machiya, which means that the front of the house was a store where the family would make and sell whatever their business was. In this case, it was silk, while the back of it was their house. These were very common in Japan, especially on Kyoto Street, which was filled with shops and cafes and still is today. This house relates to today's culture because obviously we all still live in houses, and this Japanese house shows how a family lived in their own culture as silk merchants, much like our houses today reflect our own culture, backgrounds, and possibly even jobs as well.